today's episode of Jeff Kelderman's Garage, we're doing my personal truck, 92 Dodge W250.
Hey, Jeff Kelderman here. Welcome to my garage. For each episode, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna grab a hot rod, bike, a race car, and we're gonna sit down and talk about how I took this car and how we turned it into what it is today. And the prize in my collection, the original Joe Dirt movie car. So when you got deer tattooed on your ribs and this car comes up for sale at Barrett-Jackson, you're gonna figure out a way to make it work. And I did. Speaking of American muscle, we've even got Kyle Petty's high school car right here. Hell, even my wife's car's 550 horsepower. We're even gonna get out of the garage a little bit. We got a couple special places this thing's going that you're really gonna like. You're gonna follow me to the racetrack and see how good or maybe not so good a driver I am. You're gonna see a lot of Viper action. 6-speed, old school, no traction control. What could go wrong?
So you've been following Kelderman trucks very long. You'll know that back in 1990, my dad built the first Kelderman air ride on a truck just like this, 1990 Dodge. So in 1990, Dodge decided to put a Cummins in their pickups. Well, my dad was a big Cummins fan, a big Dodge guy, so he ran right up to the dealership and bought one right off the lot. Didn't test drive it or anything. So on the way home, he realized very quickly that the ride on these trucks was absolutely terrible. So the entire way home, he's trying to figure out how am I going to make this thing ride smooth. So I remember it like yesterday because we didn't get new trucks very often. You know, Dad pulls into the driveway with this white. It was a two-wheel drive dually 3500. So pulls in and I'm like, let's go for a ride, let's go for a ride. He's like, you can take it around the block. I'm done driving this thing. And of course, 16-year-old kid's like, yeah, I'll take this thing. And even then, I jumped in that thing, and it was terrible rough, terrible rough. Well, you know, fast forward a few months, Dad had the bed off of it. I'd come out after school. He's got stuff torn apart. Anyway, the first Kelderman air suspension was built shortly after the two-stage suspension, and it didn't take long before Trailer Life did an article on it, and bam, Dad's building air suspensions around the clock. So this truck didn't always look like this. 2017, I decided around March to take my old, this was our snowplow truck, decided, hey, you know what? We got about 9 months before the SEMA show. I think we can bust out a killer build. All the guys in the shop looking like, you're totally out of your mind, dude. Well, I usually am out of my mind on stuff like this, so boom, I started tearing this thing apart. I was able to get one of our employees, Tristan, to start staying late with me. We decided we're going to do our own SEMA crunch, self-inflicted, with this 92 Dodge. So we pulled the old snowplow truck out of the weeds, and literally in 24 hours we have this thing dismantled, clear down to the frame. So I called my buddy Clint Cannon over at ATS, said, hey man, I need a transmission for this truck, and I like to use some compound turbos. He says, you got it, send the parts out. So off to Colorado, the engine and so off to Colorado, the engine transmission go. Clint got on his project, got his stuff going. I had that stuff back in a few months. So we tear this whole thing down. We decided we're going to do a frame off restoration. You know, tore it down, sandblasted the frames, took the axles apart. The axles we completely disassembled. We actually powder coated a lot of those parts because I really wanted, my goal was to have the cleanest Gen 1 on the planet. I mean, it's always hardest to say you have the nicest of anything or the best of anything, but our aspirations were to be in the conversation with any other G1 Ram out there. So my vision for this truck was black. I wanted to do a copper accent with the Kelderman suspension. The only problem is we didn't have a suspension for one of these besides stock height stuff. So I got Zach, my engineer, we sat down at the drawing table and we decided, you know, we wanted to run 37-inch tires, so we were going to go an 8-inch lift, so we decided to lay out this kit and hammer that out. So setting the bar as high as we did, we knew that the body on this truck is, we're going to be used probably into it. The thing's originally a Wisconsin truck. I think I bought it around 2011 maybe, drove it for many years, and then you know, used it for snowplow the last couple of years of it. So really been sitting around for a year before we decided to tear it out. Take it out of the weeds and start the restoration process. So knowing this truck has such bad sheet metal, and if they completely rust it out, I'm gonna have to find another cab. I'm gonna have to find another box. A couple fenders, might be able to use the hood. We're not gonna use the bumpers, we're gonna do Kelderman bumpers on it, which didn't exist either, so we designed the bumpers specifically for this truck. So to make this a more interesting story, Dad and I are going down to hunting axis deer in Sonora, Texas. So we're driving my, at the time, the 2013 Camo Dodge, and pulling the toy hauler. So on the way down, I'm telling Dad, hey, keep your eyes open down here in Oklahoma, Texas for any old G1 Dodges. I need obviously extended cab, but we need something that we can, you know, potentially buy at a decent price because, you know, it's going to have to get, you know, hauled home. So we're going through this little tiny town in Texas, and we're at a stoplight, and I look over, and there's this car lot with just a bunch of junk. And we look over, and there it is. There is a little 1500 short box pickup sitting there, flat tires. It was royal blue with the baby blue, you know, inserts, you know, classic Mopar stuff. So I run out, and doors locked, nobody's in there. Run across the street, and Carlos tells me that, you know, Jim Bob or whatever his name owns the dealership. And he gave me his phone number. I call him a few miles down the road, and man, make a deal for this thing, $500. So got the cab, we got a hood, we got some front fenders. So we're just down to the box. So I get on Facebook and just kind of start searching and asking a few G1 guys here and there. And next thing you know, we got a hold of some guy that specializes in dragging up a bunch of Dodge stuff out of Arizona and New Mexico and you know, Texas, some of the drier states. So $1,000 later, I got a box sitting in the driveway. So now we got our sheet metal. I got to find somebody to crazy enough to take a G1 and make it black. These things are known for terrible sheet metal. Little did I know there's been a few dents on the roof of this cab of this truck I bought, so it was going to need a little more work than what I thought. But lucky for us, we got some good hookups with some good Oski boys, and Grant got a hold of Lee Asher, who used to, you know, drag race with my dad clear back in the '60s, and Wymore down here had a body shop. So I talked these guys into taking on this project. You know, yeah, we can do this. And then you know, the more I start talking about, you got 60 days to do this. I mean, you know, the more I thought about it, you know, I had to throw a little extra green to them to really make those late nights count. And tell you what, when we go do some more walk around on this truck, the paint is absolutely, you know, amazing. I mean, this looks like something that could be on a high-end street rod. So knowing that we're on a time crunch here, because we're really doing about an 18-month long restoration in 9 months, I'd already kind of asked some of my buddies around who should I have do the interior, and they all came up with, man, there's only one guy you should do that. Have David Adams do your door panels and some of these other interior pieces they're going to do. So got hold of David down in Oklahoma, sent him my old door panels and, you know, kind of ideas of what I was looking for. And I tell you what, he killed it, man. He came back with some killer door panels. We ended up doing some cat skin seat covers with the Kelderman logos in it. You know, they didn't do these interiors in black either, just like they didn't do the trucks in black. So we had a custom headliner done. I decided not to do the jump seats to fold in and out. We got rid of those. We put the subwoofers in the back. Had Aaron up at Custom Sound and Image in Ankeny, Iowa, do the stereo. So, you know, it's got a killer sound system. So, you know, the vision of you know, ATS power, Kelderman air suspension. We got an excellent painter. We got David Adams, you know, on the interior. We got Aaron doing the stereo. You know, everything's laying out. The only thing that I got to, you know, keep reminding myself, this thing's still going to need about 1,500 hours of work. And now we're down to, you know, closer to 5-6 months to get this thing back together. So along the build, I decided, you know, I always like the race car look on, whether it doesn't matter if it's a race car or if it's a street rod or if it's a truck, but I always like seeing the aluminum intercoolers / radiators right behind the grill. So I reached out to my buddy Gary Johnson at Fluidyne. Gary and Nancy are wonderful people. They ran, I don't even know how long they've had Fluidyne down in Mooresville, North Carolina. But I met them on the Kyle Petty Cherry Ride shoot like 20 years ago, and just super sweet people. So he might already kill me by the end of this project, but he did come through with all the things I wanted. So what I wanted was a custom radiator and custom intercooler built specific for this truck. It was all one-off stuff. You know, I measured everything out, you know, where the mounting tabs had to be, you know, send them the old stuff, send them the measurements, and he built one-off intercooler radiator, which just gives this truck an awesome look that you really don't see on very many G1s, if any. Some other cool stuff we did on this, you know, we just took the grill and just painted it black. We color matched it. Everything on this thing's pretty much gloss. Did some, you know, new inserts in the grill. Got some clear lenses. Did a little smoke job on it. Did some new LED lights, so you know at night you can really see well between the ridges and the new LEDs. I mean, it's like 100 times brighter than what these trucks came out originally. I remember driving these in the 90s, and man, you didn't see, even if you got the halogen, you know, Wagners or whatever they were to make them extra bright. These trucks had nothing like the new LED technology today. We started this project. The only suspension we had for these trucks was stock height, and being that we're going to run the 37-inch tall tires, we decided we're going to have to run on something closer to 8 inches tall. We decided to go with a redhead steering box with the ports already in it for the hydraulic ram steering. You know, you get bigger tires on these. You got a little bit lighter truck, wider tires, but you know, these frames on these old trucks are not near as rigid as the new trucks. So we had to kind of keep all that stuff in mind when we designed this kit. We decided we wanted to do a 4-link front. We were already going to do a 4-link rear, so we wanted it to match. We also wanted to do two large side plates with a big cross member tying the two sides together, very similar to what we do on a lot of our bigger kits. Another cool thing we did is we call it SSBC, and got a 6-piston front and 4-piston rear caliper set. So they didn't have anything for these old Dodges, so I just got a Chevy kit, and we just made it up there. And I just had my machinist make the brackets to fit to, you know, the calipers, and then bolt on to the axle. So a little bit of machining that turned out really well. Back 17, we were running all Fox shocks. This is before we came out with our own line of shocks. So we've got 6 Foxes on this truck. And we got our Kelderman clamps, which, you know, truck handles and rides awesome. So compared to building the front suspension, the rear's probably half as much time, if even that. So we've got our side plates with our 4-link. We did a little bit different design on the rear than what we traditionally did. We just made a nice, you know, a nice side plate with the Kelderman logo in it that incorporated the shock into it. The rear calipers weren't too bad to do with the machining of the brackets, but you know, I really like how on the front and the rear, how you can see through the wheel and see some, you know, real aggressive brakes on this instead of a drum brake and just a real crappy OEM looking front brake. The exhaust, we did an MBRP tip. We just did a custom exhaust straight from the turbo back. Had to do a little notch in the downpipe, and then we wrapped it with some high heat tape. So nothing too crazy on the exhaust. But as you can see though, on this long bed, this bed when we got it was actually white, but it was pretty straight. There was 0 rust on it, so we had to do no repair on that. But you know, it did take quite a few wet sands with Wymore and Asher to get this as smooth as it is. Well, not only we Line-X the inside of the box, we Line-X the underneath of the box and inside the wheel wells. So, and then when we were talking about doing that, we actually Line-X the bottom of the cab as well. We Line-X both sides of the front fender, inner fender liners. So we wanted to kind of have a uniform look, and by doing the whole bottom of the truck and the inner fenders, you know, it really blended the whole truck together. So the tailgate on this truck is actually like, I think mid-80s. I always like the Dodge Ram look. So we did a little hunt around some junkyards and found the right year of tailgate, you know, masked it off and painted the Ram with that copper on it. That I think that's one of my favorite parts of the truck is the tailgate, the way, you know, jumps off. We did our own, this would be, you know, a Bravo series rear bumper with the steps in it. We got our rigid lights in it, just like the fronts, so when you can back up, you can flip the switch. We made a switch panel. Also put some gauges in there to keep track of the boost and water temperature, oil pressure, all that fun stuff. And then we made a heavy duty hitch. You know, got lots of power. You know, I never towed anything with it, but with the air suspension and the amount of power this thing has, I mean, it's pushing like 40, 45, 55 pounds of boost. Thing just hauls ass. So, you know, really made the back of this truck look just as good as the front. So we're going to run a spare tire on this thing. So we put our airlift 3H controls in there. We got a couple 3-gallon tanks. We got a couple air compressors with the dryer, so it keeps the moisture. Not that anybody's gonna be driving this thing in the winter or it's super cold, but we still put all the, the heavy duty, everyday stuff that we sell on our production trucks. All that stuff was used on this truck. So I'm really happy how this interior turned out. We had the dash completely out. We painted that. Like I said, John Lynch did a killer job of highlighting the copper. It used to be chrome, or the chrome look. David did the door panels. This truck did have power windows. We got the kicker stereo in it. It's kind of cool because all these panels there's magnets on these, so there's no screw. All the screws where you attach it to the door are hidden, so it gives you a really clean look. We did our center gauge here. So we got our water temperature. We got a pyro for the turbo, boost, and our trans temp. We did an Alpine stereo. Aaron put that stereo in. Alpine amps in the back, and then we've got our subs. Our subs where the little seats used to go. Had to have a custom headliner done. They didn't have, you couldn't just buy a black headliner, and we were able to send these off and get reupholstered. So and then these seats I had were out of a 2012 Ram we had. So we made new brackets that fit them right in. Got all the power seats working, and threw cat skin seat covers on it. And then it got the center console in here too. So without any seats in the back, if you had to have a third person, going to the show and going out to eat or something, somebody else could jump in the middle here. Got the air conditioning working, and man, really cool. I can't get enough black on these trucks, so just turned out fantastic. Just like with all our late model builds, we wanted to set a amp research steps on this. We're not big fans of running boards or Nerf bars, so we just took a regular set. We shortened them up, made a couple brackets, figured out how to wire it up, and just ran it off the dome light switches. So for the most part, the build went pretty smooth. Tristan Williams, he was working for us at the time. He lives up in New Sharon. Me and him spent a lot of nights working on it. But as you think you're on pace, you think you're on pace, you think you're on pace. By the time you get down to that last 3 weeks, that's when the reality check sets in. You're like, there's no way we're gonna get this done. But we kept working and working. I think the last night before it got loaded up, before it went to steam, we were still here at 3 in the morning, and finally we were like, close enough to go to the show. We were able to finish a few interior pieces, and the steps weren't working when it left. But took it to SEMA, man, a huge success. It was exciting. My good buddy Stacy David from the, used to be the host of the show Trucks. Grew up watching him. He came over, and it was fun to get a picture taken, with him beside the truck. But right before we left, one thing I decided to do was, we still got the old first truck that the Kelderman air ride was invented on, an old white dually laying down behind the shop in the weeds. So Mark and I went down and popped this badge off. I cleaned it up a little bit, and the final piece of the puzzle was putting the original Dodge emblem off the first Dodge truck that had the first Kelderman air ride on. So that's kind of a tribute to my dad. Dad built this place and laid a great foundation for me and my brother to kind of take over and go some different directions with some things. And so that's kind of a tribute to my dad. So really cool. Come full circle to jump in that thing when I was like 16 years old. So. And then next thing you know, I got running around, 53 now, man. What can I say? So hope you guys like this video. We're gonna have a lot more videos coming at you. We got Superbird, we got GTX, we got Kyle Petty's old Charger. I got Joe Dirt's car. I got the Deer Taybird we're getting ready to build. So motorcycles, choppers, Indians. So all kinds of cool stuff. Just extensions of my personality. Hot rods, motorcycles, trucks. We're hoping you guys are really going to enjoy this.